You're watching Capitol View, Sunday morning talk focused on the political scene in Arkansas.
Time now for a friendly conversation about some non-controversial political issues. Joining me, Republican strategist Sylvester Smith, Democratic strategist Michael Cook. Good to see both of y'all. Thanks for being here.
Thank you for having us.
It's always friendly, but I can't remember it being non-controversial.
All right, I want to begin with Republicans in Congress this week voted to start an impeachment inquiry into President Joe Biden. My question to you, Michael Cook, first is, what are we impeaching the president on?
That's exactly the question that nobody can answer. There's been no evidence of any wrongdoing by President Joe Biden. Now, it's clear his son Hunter Biden has been doing some pretty unethical, sometimes illegal things, but Hunter Biden's not running for president. He's not an elected official. That's a separate issue. The problem is the Republicans have got on this crazy train and they just can't get off of it. The right-wing echo chamber is demanding that they impeach Joe Biden. The problem they don't realize, though, the past two times there have been impeachments with Bill Clinton and Donald Trump. Regardless of what you think about the evidence in both cases, in both instances, their political bases rallied to them. Yeah. So what I think is going to happen, he's not going to be convicted, of course, he's not, but he's going to bring Democrats back home that are kind of waffling and make Joe Biden stronger in the end. I don't think Republicans have thought it through.
All right, Sylvester, your take. What are we impeaching him on, number one, and do you agree or disagree with that analysis?
Well, I'm not going to say that the Biden presidency has been without flaws. There's an old saying we have here in the South, the fruit doesn't fall far from the tree. And there's no question when it comes to Hunter Biden, the fruit is rotten. That said, I was against impeachment when it came to Donald Trump. I'm against impeachment unless there are identifiable, clearly articulable points where we can demonstrate that the law was broken by a president. The process should not have been weaponized for Trump. It should not be weaponized now for Biden. And just like with Trump, we're going to find that this will benefit Biden in his presidency. I believe it's a strategic mistake.
Yeah. Kind of folding into that, we look like we're heading for a Trump versus Biden rematch, at least at this point in the end of the year. Who knows what happens after the first of the year right here. Does this help buoy support for Donald Trump and Joe Biden, in your estimation?
I don't believe it does. I don't believe there's any benefit to Trump. One of Trump's best arguments is, I am a victim of the conspiracy machine. Well, when you indict Joe Biden, because that's what this whole process is, then you allow him to use that same language to say, well, maybe this process isn't as flawed as Mr. Trump says, because now I've been impeached too. So I just see no benefit to Republicans.
Yeah, all right. You see benefit to Joe Biden on this.
Definitely.
What do you see as the benefit or dangers for Republicans?
They're making, like I said before, I hate to make the same point, but they're going to make Joe Biden stronger. They're going to rally. They're going to help bring Democrats home. But again, they're on the crazy train and they just can't get off of it.
All right. Let's switch to the state of Arkansas, where we have a corrections controversy brewing. Heck, who knows? It might lead to impeachment of someone at some point. I've heard that rumor actually floated around. For people that have not been paying super close attention, the Board of Corrections, which has some independent authority, has decided to suspend the Board of Corrections secretary, which is a Sarah Huckabee Sanders nominee. It had to be confirmed by the board. My question is and I'm not asking this for you guys to decide, but I think the legal question is going to be, who has the right to fire this person? Does the governor have the right to fire the person, or does the board have the right to fire the person? I think that's one of the things we'll find out. But just in general, what do you think of the controversy as a whole? Give me kind of your perspective of what you see swirling.
Well, first of all, and just a reminder for your viewers, I worked in the governor's office and served under Sarah's father. I respect the governor's desire to keep Arkansans safe. Yeah. I believe more prison beds is a necessary part of that process. However, I think it's important to delegate the details to the people who have the ultimate responsibility for running the institution, and literally that's the Board of Corrections here. And so I can understand their need to make sure that they have the adequate staff, they have the adequate facilities to not just keep inmates safe, but to also keep their staff safe. Yeah. I hate that this boiled over to the point where we're in court and you've got good conservatives on both sides aiming the weapon of litigation at each other. I believe the board should have taken more responsibility in trying to go and meet with the governor to try to reconcile this before they filed a lawsuit against her. Ultimately, we all lose when we start fighting with each other, and that's the thing that disappoints me.
This is a lawyer saying this. I mean, come on, you know. Sylvester makes a good point there. The board did not go consult with the governor. The governor originally did not consult with the board. I mean, I think there was about a 1 hour notice or something before when the first plan was kind of introduced and the board said we need more information. Maybe speak to a little bit of how different this is from what we have traditionally seen in governors and boards and how they typically navigate with each other.
Right.
So.
Well, with Governor Sarah Sanders, she cares more about grandstanding rather than governing. This whole process from the very beginning, the governor could have brought everybody into a room, let's argue it out, you know, have the fight behind closed doors. We need more prison beds. You know, both sides do have some good points to make. There is a need for more prison beds to make sure violent criminals are kept behind bars. At the same time, the Board of Corrections is also correct, is that we have to do it correctly and safely, both for the staff and the prisoners. Both sides could have come together and hashed it out behind closed doors, but Sarah Sanders loves to grandstand. That's why she had that press conference and tried to berate the Board of Corrections. And now this governor has always been, the two words that always come to mind is chaos and grandstanding. And this whole controversy is just another example of how the governor operates. And instead of governing, just get on the news, create controversy instead of solving the problem.
Michael is off the Christmas card list for the governor's mansion. I'm pretty sure about that. So defend the governor's actions in this in terms of she does have the right to use the bully pulpit of the governor's office to say, this is what I want done. But traditionally, we have seen more I call it skull knocking. You get people behind the door and you knock their skulls together and you fashion a solution. Why is that not her approach?
Well, we don't know that it wasn't her approach. You know, Mr. Cook's presumption is that she didn't call the chairman in, or that she didn't send a message to the chairman about what her needs were and how her plan to meet them. I think that's a flawed presumption. This governor is not about grandstanding. She's about keeping people safe. And prison beds are a necessary tool to do that. Now, that said, let me make this prediction as an attorney. Judge Patty James, who has this case, very commonsensical, let's look at the text and see what it says. The Board of Corrections has sued saying Amendment 33 gives us ultimate dominion and authority over the prison system, and it says our powers shall not be delegated or transferred. The governor is relying on a statute that delegated their authority to her to hire and fire the secretary. I believe ultimately she's going to lose this litigation.
The Constitution is going to
I
to prevail over
think the Constitution always prevails. And I've been on the wrong end of that when I wrote a statute and the judge said it was unconstitutional. So,
all right. So what would you political advice you would give to, let's start with Democrats on how to capitalize on this issue, if there is a way to capitalize on this issue? Is there a way to turn this into a campaign issue in this next year's elections? I don't want a Republican defense of this.
You know, in terms of this one issue alone, it is very in the weeds, very inside baseball in terms of Amendment 33 and Board of Corrections and who gets to hire and fire the secretary. So you can't make this one thing a campaign issue. You can, however, loop it into or make it part of that overall story, is that Republicans can't govern and they overreach time and time again. And this is another example of Governor Sanders' chaos administration.
He's laid out his Democratic strategy there, Sylvester. You're on the other side. You get to combat it.
Our strategy is real simple. We want to keep Arkansans safe, and we may have some disagreements about how best to do that, but we're willing to do what it takes to keep our people safe. And I believe that's the message Arkansans will respond positively to, as they have for the past decade.
All right, we got about 30 seconds left. Do Republicans keep their supermajority in the legislature after next election?
Our supermajority may be a little less super, but we'll still have a supermajority.
I think Democrats are going to pick up a few seats in the House. Which ones, not sure yet, but I think we'll have a good year.
All right. Sylvester Smith, Michael Cook, thank you both for being with us. I very much appreciate you. Happy holidays, Merry Christmas, Happy New Year, everything in between. Happy
Same to you.
All of that stuff. And happy birthday, because my birthday's in that stretch there as well. Thank y'all for being here.
Thank you.
We're back to wrap up right after this.